If you were waiting eagerly for June to come round and deliver you a PS5 reveal at E3, well, don't be. Rumors had been swirling around for a bit, but now, in a note to GamesIndustry.biz, Sony has indeed confirmed that they will be a no-show this year. You might remember that Sony also skipped on E3 2019, but at that time most analysts consider it just a blip. They were working on new-gen games, didn't have much to show, no console to tease or showcase yet, so it made sense to skip a year. But it seems like it wasn't a blip, it was policy. Sony says that while they respect the organizers, they don't share the same vision, and didn't get much further into it, in what sounded sort of like a "it's not you, it's me" breakup line of the corporate variety. So you might be thinking, where can I see the PS5 reveals, teasers, etc.? Well, Sony claims that they'll be at hundreds of consumer events throughout the year in a new outreach strategy, but they give no concrete plans on its upcoming announcements. Of course, there's always Sony's annual PlayStation meeting, which should be coming up next month or so. That'd be a solid option, plus they'd get ahead of the crowd, get a solid head start, maybe push Microsoft to announce things earlier than they'd like. Or, honestly, at any time, any day, anywhere. Because they can just throw up a PlayStation logo up on a Twitch stream for a couple of hours, or a YouTube stream, or if they want to be real trolls about it, even on Mixer, and they get hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on it through sheer force of hype alone. It's a new world out there, and it's easier than ever to reach your customer base directly, so we'll be on the lookout for what Sony decides to do, but whatever it is, I'm sure it won't have an empty audience. Microsoft has announced their intention to not release any first-party next-gen exclusives for the first year of the Series X's life, maybe even up to 2 years. The reasoning presented was that they don't want consumers to feel like it's not worth it to buy into their current offerings right now, and that they'll still get good value out of them in the future. This strategy was even compared to being akin to how PC games operate by Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios. And you might ask, how about the PlayStation? Is it the same deal? Oh no, the PlayStation 5 is most definitely going to have next-gen exclusives, and they're not going to wait a year to put them out either. I'd say maybe a couple of months, or if Jason Schreier is to be believed, and I very much think he is, not even that, as there will be next-gen exclusives among the launch titles already. So, what's behind such disparate approaches to the same issue? Well, of course no one is eager to tip their hand, but Sony's take on it is pretty self-evident. Exclusives have worked for them this gen to push sales, and they're not about to mess with the winning formula, having prepared it well in advance. So what about Microsoft? They're creating a clearly more open cross-gen console environment, but is it out of the goodness of their hearts? Well, far from me to doubt such noble intentions, but I would posit that their strategy is born more out of necessity than conviction, not that I think that it's a bad thing overall. Now, this will just be me speculating a little, so don't take it too seriously. But I would wager that not a lot of those AAA games that Microsoft Studio purchases set in motion are finalized, and that the ones which are closer to fruition were designed with current-gen technology in mind. But why not just lock them away in a next-gen console anyway to try to force through some hardware sales? Well, we've been hearing some rumors about how the X series will be a bit of a beast with specs above those expected out of the PS5. So maybe Microsoft is fully expecting to churn them out at a loss, which could explain their drive to capitalize on the current installed user base and their software sales, rather than try to push for everyone to migrate to the next gen right away. I mean, the option is there, but there's no exclusives, there's no urgency, there's no rush. The linchpin of this strategy, as I see it, would be how well they can scale up the last-gen compatible titles so that they still look appetizing as next-gen titles. Think PC-like graphics settings, medium for last-gen, ultra for new-gen. Maybe it's no coincidence the PC got a mention by Booty after all. Of course, this is all just a theory as to their motivations, and I have no inside information to confirm it, so don't rake me over the coals if you don't like it. What I would like is to read your comments on how this next-gen launch is going to play out, and Microsoft and Sony's completely different strategies. I'm sure you guys have some interesting takes on it. The mysterious RX 5950 XT has popped up again in a EEC filing, this time by AFOX, but it had already popped up in a big list of names filed last year by Sapphire. Of course, there is such a thing as speculative filing, where board partners just register names that they expect might be of need in the future, so this is no definite confirmation of anything yet. Keep that in mind before getting too hyped up. However, this appropriately timed filing combined with Lisa Su's CES remarks of AMD putting out a high-performance card this year seem like they could potentially be related to the big Navi everyone's been waiting for. When it comes to performance, the rumors of a powerful, as-of-yet unannounced Radeon card beating the 2080 Ti in a VR workload might herald a sign of long-awaited proper return to the high-end by AMD. But of course, even if they do deliver on that, of which there's no guarantee, there's still the question of the price-to-performance ratio, as recently AMD has not been so keen on significantly undercutting Nvidia's pricing as before, even though the graphics card's market pricing remains inflated. Clearly, AMD has made a big splash on the CPU market and brought life into what was not long ago a dull, slow and steady area of business, and that kind of competition is of benefit to us all. It remains to be seen if they can achieve the same on the graphics card market, and if, as a smaller company, they're not stretched too thin as they bring the battle to every front on the CPU market, desktops, servers, laptops, while attempting an assault on the high-end graphics market where Nvidia has long held the crown. It seems certain, however, that something is in the pipeline, and in my view, they'll probably want to get it out before Ampere to benefit from more beneficial comparisons with Turing at launch. I'm sure we will have more info as we get closer to a release date, and if not with this particular name, we might see AMD jump straight to a 6000 series, but that would probably make for a more confusing naming scheme overall. Not that tech companies are strangers to weird naming conventions, though. This is it, the end of an era. Yesterday was the last day for Windows 7 as a supported OS. Today, we have dawned in a new world, one where Windows 7 users are back to annoying pop-ups reminding them of security risks and how to upgrade. And upgrade you can, and for free still, even though that campaign is supposed to have run out long ago. All you have to do is get the Windows 10 installation from Microsoft's website, and the installer will do the rest for you, providing you with a genuine copy of Windows 10. Even though it's not needed, I jot down your Windows 7 key beforehand, just to be sure. Personally, I wouldn't operate an end-of-life OS with no active support, but I'm not here to nag you about it either. In fact, about 20% of Windows users are still rocking Windows 7, and I would wager that number is not going to go down as much as you'd expect. Rock on, my friends. Rock on. Speaking of old friends, years after its disappearance, Games for Windows Live still manages to be a bother. GTA 4 has recently disappeared from Steam listings due to Rockstar having simply run out of Games for Windows Live keys to sell their title with, and not having anywhere else to get any since the service is long dead and buried. Now, of course the blame doesn't rest solely on the defunct service, but on Rockstar's delay on putting the effort to correct their umbilical connection with it, as other games have already done so, such as Dark Souls, the Arkham series, and Bioshock 2. Hopefully the issue will be resolved in a timely manner, as even though it was a disappointing port, the game itself still ranks highly as one of my favorites.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.